I have the incredible privilege of introducing our next very distinguished speaker, Senator Stabenow. Made in Michigan through and through, Senator Stabenow continues to lead on public policy and improve the lives of people of Michigan and Americans across the country. Her leadership is characterized by an unrivaled work ethic, the ability to build bipartisan coalitions to get things done, and a deep commitment to public service that has set the standard for constituent service. Throughout her years in public service, she has blazed trails and opened doors for women and girls. Among her many firsts, she was the first woman elected to the United States Senate from Michigan. And that's really important, I will say, as a woman in agriculture and as a woman who works in policy, is to be able to see women who are trailblazing and the opportunity. So thank you, Senator Stabenow, for all of your trailblazing. As chairman of the powerful Senate Committee on Agriculture, Nutrition, and Forestry, her work continues to shape our nation's food and farm policy, impacting generations to come. And that is so critical. Chairman Stabenow's leadership on so many aspects as chair of the Senate Ag Committee, as the Farm Bill continues to be negotiated and discussed, but her staunch support for really critical, important work like climate change that we were just talking about, like important nutrition programs, are just among very few things that she has championed. She's also championing and strengthening local and regional food systems and specialty crops, fruits, nuts, vegetables, nursery crops. She established the local agriculture marketing program in the 2018 Farm Bill and authored the first ever horticulture title of the Farm Bill. And last time I was here in January hearing a little bit about the challenges. It's amazing that there is even a challenge of establishing the horticulture title, but I really appreciate you taking that challenge on head on. The maybe 2024, I have notes here that say the 2024 Farm Bill will be the Senator's sixth Farm Bill and the third that you have led as either chair or ranking member of the committee. Earlier this week, Senator Stabenow chaired a hearing with Secretary Vilsack as the testifier, and I just wanted to share a quote from your remarks then, that Senator Stabenow and Secretary Vilsack have a shared goal of keeping farmers farming, families fed, and rural communities strong. Such an important and critical goal, one that I know all of you, and as you're working on Farm Stops, are working on together. So please join me in welcoming a true public servant, Senator Stabenow.
Thank you. Great Undersecretary. Give it up for Jennifer. This is fantastic. Oh my gosh, it's so great to be here with people like kindred spirits. I can't tell you how much I love what all of you are doing and have been doing, and to everybody with Argus Farm Stop, thanks for bringing us together. It's wonderful to see the growth and everything you're doing, and I know so many other people in this room now are doing the same thing. So it's wonderful to have a chance to be with you. And you're really reshaping the local food systems and really, as you know, strengthening the connections that are so critical with local farms and local families and local communities. And while agriculture has been and will always be critical for rural communities. I grew up in Clare. Anybody know where that is? Small town? Yeah, all right. I was a town kid. My relatives were farmers. They were dairy farmers, and they never made it through the entire Thanksgiving meal. They had to go back and milk the cows. All I knew is dairy farmers really worked hard. That's what I knew growing up, and other farmers as well. But the exciting thing that brings us together today is that agriculture is urban. It is suburban. It's about local food access no matter where you live. And so we are making that happen. And it's really important that we keep making that happen, frankly, because it's not a given. It is absolutely not given. And I'll just, a couple of stories, and when I talk about sort of how we got here, because we're going to need your advocacy to keep this going. Back in 2008, I've always been on the agriculture committee when I was in the state legislature. 'Cause I always felt, in Michigan, we make things and grow things, and that's how you have an economy. So I've always been involved in manufacturing, and of course now around EVs and new clean energy and so on, but always been involved in ag. So I get to Congress, and 4 years in the House, and then went to the Senate in 2000. But we do this 5-year farm bill. And fruits and vegetables aren't anywhere in this. It's supposed to be the food policy for the country, 5-year food policy for the country. There are 11 what they call titles, chapters. None on what we call specialty crops or horticulture title, fruits, vegetables, a whole range of things, nuts, Christmas trees, whatever. There's a whole range of things. But we grow that, about half of what we grow in Michigan. Is specialty crops, fruits and vegetables. And so I'm looking at this going, what is going on here? Almost half the cash receipts of the country in fruits and vegetables, and there is not support for that. So I started working on that, 2002, a crop insurance demonstration project. What could we help especially crop growers get crop insurance? And then start doing something else and something else. This stuff is slow. This stuff takes time to make change happen. So 2008, we finally got to where I said, okay, I've had it. We got to have a chapter in the Farm Bill, title in the Farm Bill. And I'm not supporting the 2008 Farm Bill unless we do that. Now, I didn't think that would be that hard, actually. But the people who get the money in the Farm Bill, come to think of it, they don't like other people getting money in the Farm Bill. They look at it and go, oh, no, we don't want to share the money in the Farm Bill with more people. And so we had to figure out how we were going to do this, and also how to make it, because there's so many different specialty crops. It's not the same. It's not like, let's have a rice program, or let's have a cotton program, or let's have a corn or soybeans. It's cherries and blueberries and peaches and pecans, and it goes on and on and on and on. So it's not the same. So trying to figure out, okay, how do we do that was also a really important part of this. But just getting the title, I mean, we literally had a knockdown drag out on this, and luckily, I say lucky from my perspective, Democrats were in the majority at that time, and Senator Tom Harkin was chairing the committee. And I said, Tom, I'm not going to vote for a bill if we do not do this. I'm going to do everything I can to stop this from happening. And so we got it done, and the world didn't end, and it was, and we began to put together, what are we going to do? And so we came up with things like the specialty crop block grant that goes to the state, where you can apply for money for marketing or research or whatever, but it's crop by crop. So again, what's the flexibility? Especially research. Special Crop Research Initiative, which took 2 farm bills for me to get that permanent, both the 14 bill, and then in 18 we made that fully funded and permanent, as well as the block grants and so on. But it's been a step by step by step, and honestly, what is happening now is so exciting with what you are doing to build on that. I think if we didn't have a title for fruits and vegetables, we couldn't have gone on to do everything else, because you have to decide it's important first and put it in there. And so now we have this incredible movement, as you know, around the country about fresh local foods, supporting local farms, strengthening communities, keeping dollars here, building resiliency, tackling the climate crisis. And we saw what happened under COVID when those supply chains broke down. And one of the things that Secretary Vilsack and I and President Biden strongly supports is regional, local supply chains. And how do we process meat here locally? We got 4 big meat processing operations in the country. 2 are foreign owned, and we need local and regional processing, right? I know we've got some folks right here doing that, right? So, but COVID kind of helped us be able to really make that case about resiliency and so on in a different way. And it led to programs like the Local Food Purchase Cooperative Agreement Program, LFPA, and regional food business centers. And I'm sure our great undersecretaries talked about those things already because we have worked together on all of that. And I'm so proud the Midwest Center is being led by Michigan State, the Center for Regional Food Systems. So we are building now on those successes and building for where we go to support you for the future. And so we have done a number of things to build on a specialty crop title. And we've then looked at how do we support more people having access to fresh fruits and vegetables, which started out Fair Food Network. Anybody here Fair? Yay, thank you for all the wonderful work on what we call Double Up Bucks, or now GusNEP, which started in Michigan. But this started as a wonderful effort in Michigan with Kellogg Foundation, with local volunteers, things happening. And it was going so great that as chair of the Ag Committee, that's one of the things you get to do is to pick things up and put them in the Farm Bill. And so we put in a demonstration project. And I said to everybody, Orrin and everybody at Fair Food Network, okay, we now have to make sure people know about this, and you build a constituency so when we get to the next Farm Bill, we can actually make this permanent. And so they did. And now grocery stores as well as farmers markets and other things are happening because we put some money in, but then we made sure that people applied, that their member of Congress knew about it, that people were advocating for it, so that we could continue it and build on it, which is so important with each of the efforts, frankly, that we're doing right now. And so the value added production, I mean, all of the things we've done to make sure people understand all of these pieces. Community gardens, school gardens are something I love. And we have many in Michigan and many in our schools. And that's one of the things that I love is that kids are now finding out where food comes from, and it doesn't come from the grocery store. They actually can see where it's actually coming from. And we can talk about healthy food. I'll never forget being at a school in Detroit. I'm not sure how many gardens we have now, but at the time we had 80. And I'm doing an announcement about more school gardens, and we're standing there, and I'm with some guys from the football team. And this one young man in the practice field for the football team was right next to the garden. And so he gets up and speaks, and he goes, yes, we start... when we're doing practicing and so on, it's like if I look over and I see a strawberry or whatever, I'll go pick it up because it's good hydration. And I went, yes. But when you got the head of the football team telling you I want strawberries because they're good hydration, we've done something right. So, community gardens and school gardens and, all of this, it all connects with what you are doing as well. And the Office of Urban Agriculture. And let me just tell you a story about that as well, because 2018 Farm Bill, I actually was finally able to get an Office of Urban Agriculture. Small office, little tiny bit of funding in the scheme of things. I mean, very small, several $1 million in here. But when we were negotiating the Farm Bill, the chairman in the House, did I hear somebody was here from Texas? Okay, okay. Bless you, my child. You are welcome to move here. We have a very welcoming state. And we'll make sure you can make your own healthcare decisions, too, so. Well, the chairman of the committee at the time was from Texas, a Republican colleague, and of course, and they still believe that it was heresy that I got a specialty crop title, because everything should go to the South and big commodities. Okay, so we're final negotiations on this bill. And as with everything else, I mean, I just keep moving. We can't, I would love to take gigantic steps. That's not how it works. But every time we're moving, we're getting more. We're moving, we're putting the building blocks in and so on. So we get the Office of Urban Agriculture. And he was his face was like turning purple across the table from me, arguing that agriculture is rural. Agriculture is rural. What are you doing? Urban. What are you doing? Putting this, in here, and he made the mistake. There was just a few of us in the room, but he made the mistake of saying, "Well, who do I need to talk to? Who's your boss on this?" Ha. And everybody in the room kind of backs up. I said, "My leader, Senator Schumer, listens to me on this bill. And so you're talking to the boss in the Senate on this bill." And so in the end, we finally got it. We finally got it. So this is the Trump administration. They wouldn't do it. So we got it. They were supposed to set up an office and didn't. But you know who did? President Joe Biden was one of the first things that he did, and Secretary Vilsack. And people talk to me about differences. I could go on for days about differences. Days and days and days. But in this area of what we need to do around access to healthy food and what we need to do on urban agriculture and regional and small supply chains and, all the things you're doing, it's just night and day. So we got it. So I'm thinking, okay, and I'm telling you this because even when we think we have something, it doesn't mean we permanently have it. So I think we've got it. Okay, no arguments anymore. Then the U.S. House cuts the funding this year out of the budget, out of the one-year budget. So I have to go back, raise a holy hell, and so on. Our colleagues, Democratic colleagues in the Senate, support it. It's a huge fight. I have to actually offer an amendment on the floor of the Senate. Couldn't get it into the original bill. Offer it. We get it. So it's in there. But then in the final negotiations in the last 2 weeks, they tried to take it out again. Now, they weren't successful. But the reason I'm telling you this is that we have to keep pushing all the time. You have to keep telling people. You have to keep telling elected officials why this is important. You have to invite them to your farm, invite them to your farm stop, which is one of the cool things I did years ago when you were really just getting going. You have to keep telling this story because the folks on the other side don't quit. They don't. It's getting institutionalized now, but they will come back at it if they think there's an opening. And so you have to just keep telling people because it's wonderful to see what's done. And when they see what you're doing, people can't argue with it. It just makes so much sense. And so we need you. We need you here, and then we need you going home and talking to your member of Congress and your senators about how these things are really, really important. Let me mention a couple of other things, and let me just, in the context of the Farm Bill. I have been involved in 6 different farm bills. Shoot me now, actually. They are so complicated. They are so complicated because I can't just do what I want. You have to, it's the whole country. And so you have to respect and figure out ways to make things win-wins and so on, which is what we do. But this is the third one that I've led. And what I can tell you is, it has to be bipartisan. You can't get the votes if it's not bipartisan. And ideally, we want things to be bipartisan. It's not like trying to be partisan. There's just such a different view of the world these days. But we are at a point now where we're stuck, kind of, on getting this bill done. I mean, we're really, working hard to do that, but we have, particularly in the House, although still also some in the Senate, who are insisting we cut nutrition money. The nutrition title is the largest title in the Farm Bill. We on purpose have food access and what we're doing for farmers and ranchers and foresters and so on to create agricultural products. We bring them together, and we need to do that. Actually, that's the way we get this done. And there's always people that want to cut SNAP, always people that want to cut nutrition. But this has become an even bigger issue this year because in the last Farm Bill, for the first time in 50 years, not 15, not 50 years, we were able to put language in for SNAP to do a real update on what people purchase, how they purchase, the cost of food, and so on. And for instance, when they did it in 1975, they said women were cooking 2 hours a day from scratch at home. Okay, raise your hand. That was and it was not based on packaged food. It was not based on, it was just, so we got that in a bipartisan Farm Bill in 2018. The Trump administration would not do it, but President Biden, Secretary Vilsack came in, and I asked that to be one of the very first things they did, which they did. And it was an increase. Now, not a huge increase in the context of, you have to look at the situation. The average person gets temporary help on SNAP that's about $6 a day. So $6 a day for mom, $6 a day for the one child, two child, three child for dad, and so on. And then go to the grocery store. And I think of that so much when I'm in the grocery store. So they do, so it's not a lot of money, but it was a long period of time they were looking at, and it ends up being an adjustment of $1.40 per person. $1.40. Okay. But because there are so many people on SNAP coming down, because the economy, goes up and down. During COVID, a lot of people. Now it's coming down because this is how it works with food help and temporary food help. But the Republicans hate the fact that we did this increase of $1.40 a person. And so they want to cap any further increase. So they want to say, you can't do that anymore. You can't do another update. And we've built one update in to every Farm Bill every 5 years. That's what the law is now. And I'm not going to go back 50 years. We're just not going to do it. And they say if you cap for future increases, it's not a cut. So, but they get a bunch of savings by doing that. And so I said, well, how do you get a bunch of savings if it's not a cut? But they want to take that and put it into the commodity title. Now, I'm telling you this just because the fight on the Farm Bill now, I'm not going to do that. We are not going to do that. And the Democrats in the House on the committee are with me. The Democrats in the Senate, we're just not going to do that. And it has to be a bipartisan Farm Bill. So the second thing they want to do is take the money we just got on conservation for climate, the largest investment in basically nature-based conservation, climate efforts ever, and that we may ever get focused on this in terms of carbon sequestration and what needs to happen for a whole range of things to support farmers, cover crops and how to deal with methane and all of these things. Almost $20 billion that was in the Inflation Reduction Act. We wrote that, my team did, we put it in. There's money for sustainable forestry. It is critical. And transforming rural electric co-ops off of coal. We have more rural electric co-ops on fossil fuels than any other utilities in the country. And it's a major way that we're going to stop pollution by getting them on clean energy. So, which is very, very important. So we are in a situation where they want to take the climate money. And by the way, all of this goes to farmers, and this is something, all of the climate money is basically people applying for things like EQIP and other kinds of conservation programs. It's not going somewhere else. It's just helping farmers and ranchers and others. But it's through a climate lens. What are we doing that it maximizes reducing carbon and other greenhouse gases, which is exactly what we should be doing. So we're in a point with the Farm Bill where they want to take that money and put it into commodities, mainly the South, and they want to take some of the money on SNAP. So all that to say is we're in a staring them down moment. And hopefully we can get beyond that, because there's other ways to fund concerns that other commodities have. Certainly we have many in Michigan and many around the country. We know we need to address issues around the country. That's how it's bipartisan. But we've basically said we're not doing this. We're not taking the climate money. We're not taking the nutrition money. We'll look for other things. Secretary Vilsack has worked with me on identifying trade marketing money from another pot that he has that we can do, because all the commodities want to double the amount of marketing money. And we just did that through some other thing. And I'm saying, look, we'll work with you in other areas, but these two things we're just not going to do. So that's where we are on the Farm Bill. I will say that when we talk about trade marketing assistance and opportunities, it's not just around the world. It may be across the street, right? And that's where all of you come in the community. And the market may be the local school, it may be the hospital, it may be the community, it may be your neighbors, or it could be someplace else around the world. But when we talk about marketing, trade marketing assistance, right, we mean all of it. That's when we say it. We mean all of it, including what we can do on local foods. So we are in a position right now where I hope we're going to have a Farm Bill. If by some chance we can't break the logjam on this. And I'm the eternal optimist. These are really big, complicated bills. And you just almost have to will it into existence when you're doing it. And I feel that we can do this. If we don't, what happens is we continue current policy. So we would just do a continuation of 2018 policy, and we'd be protecting, SNAP. We would be all the urban ag, everything that we did in 18, we would just continue. So I would love to do even more. We've got great ideas that we're working on. We're putting them forward. But if it doesn't happen, and we're continuing current policy, protecting food assistance, protecting climate, I'm okay. I'm okay with that. And so that's really the position I've taken. And hopefully we are going to, we're going to be able to get through that. So thank you very much for everything that you are doing. It's so awesome what you are doing. And as the state that grows more diversity of crops than any state but California, okay, who's here from California? I usually make fun of California. I'll try not to do that today. So, but we're a wonderfully big, diverse state. We're proud of our agriculture. We're proud of what we do on food access. What you are doing is making it better and better and better. So thank you.